Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Coronavirus, your local HQ. I'm Jordan Fremstead. More than 20 new coronavirus cases are being reported in Winona County. There are now 51 total cases being reported in that county. According to a release from the city of Winona, quote, "This was expected and represents a large increase in local testing. We know the virus has been in Winona and spreading for some time," end quote. There are now 1,800 positive cases in Minnesota, and there have been at least 87 deaths. Houston County is still reporting only one positive case. In Iowa, a second death is being reported in Allamakee County. The entire state now has nearly 2,000 people who have tested positive, and 53 people have died. Nurses from around the country got a hero's welcome when they arrived at a Long Island hospital. Their hospital system that services much of the New York City area put out an SOS for help, and 46 nurses answered the call. In South Dakota, a city mayor is pushing back against the state governor who has not issued a stay-at-home order. Sioux Falls is the site of one of the largest known clusters of coronavirus cases in the country. That includes 440 employees of a now closed pork processing plant. The government is making preparations for the time when people will be allowed to ease back into society. Natalie Brand is at the White House with the details.
It's going to be very, very close, maybe even before the date of May 1st.
The federal government is working on strategies to reopen the country. The Washington Post obtained a draft proposal of CDC and FEMA guidance for state and local governments. The agencies are recommending that first, there's confidence infection rates are, quote, genuinely low, and the health system has the capacity to handle a new surge of cases, and that there's a well-functioning system to test and trace patients.
They're diagnosed, and then they're isolated, and then their contacts are traced. That's going to be fundamental. This outbreak got beyond containment this time. We need to get it back, so the containment's an important part of our overall strategy.
CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield says some elements of social distancing will remain in place until there are medical developments such as a vaccine. It's state governors who will ultimately decide when to reopen their communities, and the president is expected to speak to the governors this week about their plans.
I will then be authorizing each individual governor of each individual state to implement a reopening.
Tuesday, the president also said he's suspending funding to the World Health Organization while reviewing its response to the pandemic.
It's $830 million plus over the last 2 years, and all we needed was the truth in return.
The United Nations issued a statement saying now is not the time to reduce the resources of any organization fighting the virus. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called the decision to suspend World Health Organization funding dangerous and illegal and says it will be swiftly challenged. The Wisconsin Senate is expected to pass a COVID-19 relief bill today before sending it to Governor Tony Evers' desk. Yesterday, the state assembly approved the bill with about half of its 99 members participating in the vote remotely. It was the first time lawmakers have gathered since the pandemic. In a statement, State Representative Steve Doyle said, quote, "While I was pleased to vote in favor of this bill, it's been a little over a month since Governor Evers declared a state of emergency, and it's a shame Wisconsinites had to wait this long for lawmakers to act," end quote. Governor Evers is saying it could be at least a month before he starts to relax social distancing mandates. The governor says that lifting the mandates won't be like flipping a switch, and it could be weeks to a month before he starts rolling them back. Evers says he wants to see more testing for the coronavirus, tracking the sick, and more protective gear before he starts thinking about reopening businesses. Right now, Evers' stay-at-home and school closure orders are set to expire on April 24th. 3,500 people have tested positive in Wisconsin for coronavirus, and 170 people have died. 30% of the people who have tested positive have been hospitalized. There are signs that Safer at Home is working in the state. Wisconsin was projected to have 22,000 infections by April 8th, which would have resulted in between 440 and 1,500 deaths. That was according to a model created by the state's Department of Health Services. Meanwhile, 2 new cases are being reported in Monroe County. No new cases or deaths are being reported in La Crosse County. We want to thank you so much for joining us for this coronavirus update, and you can always get the latest information anytime on our website at news8000.com or download our mobile app. We hope you can join us tonight at 5, 6, and 10.